The other aspect of Bharatnatyam that we see in this country a lot, and I think it has to do with this coming of age in the Indian diaspora community. A lot of parents, put their daughters, especially through Bharatnatyam training, and then they have the Ayangetram. They book a high school auditorium, and then they invite all their friends, and it's almost like the debutante ball kind of a thing for the in the Indian American community. What are your views about that? Because on one hand, it is nice that children get exposure to an art form, given the fact that they're growing up in this country and watching MTV and things like that. But what is your view about what does it do to the art form really? Does it dilute it really, or?
Aseem, frankly speaking, I'm quite baffled at how popular Bharatanatyam has become. And a part of me understands it and a part of me doesn't. Because I wonder, if you are sending a child to a Bharatanatyam school, I think it's wonderful. But at the same time, I wonder, why is that same child not being sent to a music school or a Kutch embroidery class or an ikat weaving class or, take any other, or a mridangam class or a pakhawaj class or even a Manipuri dance class? What is it about Bharatanatyam that has become so much of, that it has become such an integral part of the Indian American community?
And I'm sorry, but it's not necessarily just among the people from South India. I mean, even North Indians and from Central India also. Yeah.
Exactly. I think the visual aspect of Bharatanatyam has a lot to do with it. It is a beautiful art form. It's easy to get carried away by its look. It is considered quote-unquote exotic. There is a lot of complexity to it, which can be diluted and has been diluted and packaged and sold as a commodity. Which is the problem, is that we are not understanding that it requires years and years of discipline and a very, very intense involvement with the art form before you can even set foot on stage. And, I may sound very old-fashioned when I say that, but I do recognize the importance of the training before you flourish as a dancer. The issue here is time. When we have our lives so compartmentalized into so many activities, you have soccer playing, and then they have piano lessons, and then for children, I mean, there's so much packed into the day that it becomes unrealistic to expect that child to devote himself or herself that intensively into an art form. But at the same time, my plea to the parents is to realize that a child learning Bharatanatyam is not a child knowing everything about India. A child learning Bharatanatyam for 2 months is not enough to put him or her on stage.
It's not 2 months though. I mean, don't they go through?
They go through a lot of. I have seen a whole range of performances, and they vary in their merit. I've also seen a lot of Arangetrams, which are wonderful. I think it's a wonderful way to introduce a child to the stage and the excitement, and having created something and to take the ownership of that. But at the same time, Arangetram is a stepping stone. It's not the end. It is, as they say, the debut performance, which means that your career has just begun. You are taking the blessings of that guru and the people who are there, and they give you the permission to move on, and they see a potential and they say, yes, now you're ready to start dancing. So I think the perspective is a little askew, that we have to know that if you are learning dance, you have to learn music. You have to understand the subtleties of movement through music. You have to learn poetry. How many of us really understand the words that we are dancing to? Each movement, each gesture, each word has a meaning. So, for example, if you are speaking English, you wouldn't construct a sentence with words that you didn't understand. So words that they don't understand, you either reject or you
just don't use them.
Just don't use them, exactly, or you concoct words and hence slang. But at the same time, you devise a meaning for yourself from that word. That is not happening in dance. What's happening is 4 items learned on stage, and there's the performance. Bharatnatyam is not about learning items. Bharatnatyam is a way of life. There is a very involved and long process. And of course, everybody cannot be a professional dancer. So the parents have to realize this as well. And it is a lot of hard work, and it is a lot of love. It takes a lot of love and sacrifice. Are we willing to do that? It's not all silk saris and gold jewelry.